This is Keys to the Shop, live at Coffee Fest 2023. Today we're talking with Ian Williams of Deadstock Coffee in Portland, Oregon. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. Today's episode is brought to you by Coffee Fest, of course, because this is where their conversation happened. The coffeefest.com is where you can learn more about this wonderful trade show, 3 decades of providing unmatched coffee shop equipping and resourcing experience. Coffeefest.com is where you should go to get registered for the upcoming shows in 2024. They're visiting New York City, New Orleans, Minneapolis, and Los Angeles with the trade show floor and all the vendors, as well as the events and competitions, the seminars and training sessions. This is a dynamic 2 to 3 days that is going to help you in your coffee shop immensely. Go register and use the code KEYS15, K-E-Y-S, and the number 15 to get 15% off your general admission for Coffee Fest. And I hope to see you there at one of these shows. Today, we're going to be talking with somebody who is a presenter at Coffee Fest. This is an interview I did last year at Coffee Fest in Orlando with none other than the founder of Deadstock Coffee, Ian Williams. Deadstock Coffee is a much celebrated and nearly 10-year-old business founded in 2015 with a concept of focusing on sneakers and coffee. And since the beginning of their business, they've attracted a lot of attention for their unique concept and the way they provide hospitality to people. The concept is based on the founder Ian Williams' love for both sneakers and for coffee, having worked in the world of sneakers prior to coffee. And since their success, they've accumulated a lot of accolades in the industry. Ian has been going around speaking about entrepreneurship, marketing, as well as diversity at places like Coffee Fest. And so I got to catch up with him on the show floor to talk about his presentation, Marketing Outside the Box. And so we got to stand behind some display somewhere on the show floor and pass the microphone back and forth and talk just generally about his experience running Deadstock, the lessons he's learned in managing people through hard times, as well as staying authentic and marketing with authenticity. And I know you're going to get a lot from his insights learned over these past nearly 10 years of running Deadstock Coffee. So let's get right to it. Here's my show floor interview at Coffee Fest with the founder of Deadstock Coffee, Ian Williams. All right, Ian Williams, Deadstock Coffee. Welcome to Keys to the Shop.
I appreciate that. Excited to be here. I like to get my talk on a little bit, so hopefully people get to learn some stuff.
Yeah, you've been talking a lot this weekend, and I hear it's gone very, very well. We are here mainly with you. There's a lot of things we could talk about. Your brand Deadstock, your coffee shop is so well known in the industry for having a kind of a unique niche with sneakers and coffee, and it is really one of those things that people wouldn't have thought, hey, let's do this, and I think it's going to be successful. Your background in sneakers gave you the bravery to do this, right? Your passion for coffee. But over the years, you've learned a lot about how to make that brand take hold with people. And I imagine a lot of that experience has gone into what you tell people in these sessions. What's the first thing that you tell them, hey, this is ultimately the key of how I was able to make this brand successful, given the fact that it was such a new concept?
Yeah. You said this is the key. You said this is keys to the shop. What is the first thing I tell them? I think the first thing I tell them is that it's just real. I wouldn't be able to open up a cafe that is like around extraction and like perfect extraction and like perfect, pour overs and all that stuff. Like where I'm from, people who I knew were coming to Deadstock at the time or who were looking for a place like Deadstock and who have been coming through for the last, 8 years, like they're not necessarily looking for that. Or at least when I first started, they were just looking for a place to be together as a community. So it was important more for me to look at it as a community opportunity, as a community space. It's also because that's what I needed, right? I was making something for me because I also needed that. When I was going to other cafes in Portland, we got plenty of cafes who do everything right, quote unquote, right? And, nothing wrong with most of them. There's some of them that I just truly didn't feel comfortable in. And I was tired of feeling uncomfortable trying to hang out with my friends. because all we wanted to do was sit and chill and talk and like, have a cup of coffee or have a cup of tea or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, it came from an authentic place from the beginning. And that's what it's always been for me. Like from marketing, not even 101, like marketing 99 is like, is it real? Is it authentic, right? That's why there's influencers, because influencers have an authentic tie to a market or to a group of people, right? Like all these things. So if it's going to come from me, it has to come from an authentic spot. And I think that's where marketing for me has always been, is like, is it true? Is it us?
It's interesting that when people approach marketing, they think of it as the thing that almost gives meaning to their business, rather than we're going to deliver who we are to people through marketing. So the identity piece for you is huge, and probably it needs to be for everybody else. Why is it that authenticity and feeling it yourself is so important? Does it make it more successful, whatever you do, more successful, your marketing campaigns? Are they able to see the difference between somebody who's just kind of going through the motions versus somebody who actually believes it in their bones that this is something we are all about and we want you to be a part of it?
That's a really great question. I think that like I speak in examples a lot, or in like metaphors. One of the biggest examples that I would say for this one was when COVID happened. I already was like the businesses or the companies that are going to make it are the ones that are connected to the community, right? There's going to be companies that are going to be just fine. The Nikes and all that stuff, like the bigger entities, Starbucks, like they're going to be fine, right? But if you're a small business or if you're a medium-sized business and you're not connected to the community, especially in a hard time, you're not going to make it. You're not communicating to people, because when you're communicating to the community is going to communicate back to you by sales, right? By coming in. And I'm not saying that I do this all for money. I will say that as a business owner, I do have to make money, right? And so, I know for certain that sneakerheads are not my biggest customer. My biggest, we have like two different customers. I have people who drink coffee every single day. I need them, but they're not necessarily sneakerheads. And then I have sneakerheads who I see very rarely, right? By rarely, I mean like, we might have, it might be we might have 25 people who are just coming to buy coffee, and then one person is like, yo, I'm here for the shoes, right? And I love being there for both of those people. I just am we just are there for different reasons for those people, but we're never inauthentically ourselves. We're always going to play hip hop with the curse words in it, right? We're always going to say what's up. I tell my team, like, yo, we don't say hello. We don't say, like, I'm not telling them, like, you must say what's up, It's not like when you go to like a chain restaurant and it's somebody's birthday and they all have to sing the birthday song to you. It's not like that, right? You say hi however you're gonna say hi. If that's what's up, what's going on, hey, how's it going? What's good? Good morning, right? Like, and I tell them the customers will also respect you, right? Like if you say, hey, how you doing? And somebody says latte, like I give you free reign to be like, hello, good morning, and they will acknowledge you as a person first before they buy coffee, right?
So the community communicates back to you in sales, which sales are just voting to say we will take the risk to invest our money into this company because it gives to us something beyond just coffee, because you can get coffee virtually anywhere, like you said, in Portland. So given that, maybe we're talking to people here on the show who are in the midst of a lot of competition, and they need marketing because, and especially if they're thinking, I need marketing outside the box because I've tried inside the box and it's not working, and I'm desperate because people don't know where we are, people don't know what we're about. What's the first step for somebody to get outside the box in marketing, like next week, if they were going to take the first step? If it's to reevaluate their authenticity, maybe there's that, but what if you were consulting them on that, what would your assignment to them be?
So in the marketing class that I taught here, I actually spent a whole lot of time on figure out who you are first, So that was like, figure out, your MVP, right? Your mission, vision, position. What is it that your MVP, like, as a brand, right? That's essentially your, that's your brand book before you make your brand book. That is your business plan for your marketing, right? Like, all that stuff is that's your business plan for who your company is. And if it's outside of those things, whatever your marketing is, that whatever it's going to be that you're building, don't do it, right? But you also have to understand the way that your customers or your consumers are going to digest that information, right? If your customers are a little bit older, and maybe you're in a sleepier town, maybe you got to go to Facebook, right? And maybe they might not be on Instagram, but you're like, I got to start an Instagram. But maybe they don't live on Instagram, right? Maybe, we talked actually a lot about mailers. Like, paper mail is back, right? I'll be completely honest. There's some things that I got handed into my bag today when I was going through the gift bag that they give you, like the welcome bag, or I saw some flyers and I was like, oh, I'm actually going to talk to this person, right? Or, there's companies who send us stuff in the mail, paper, stuff for us to try samples or whatever. Like, mail is back, right? And I will actually say that again. I think COVID had a lot to do with that because tactile things became important because everything was not near you, right? When COVID happened, it was important for us that we kept the shop door open because I know that our customer and me, we want to see each other, right? So I couldn't do the serve coffee through the plastic, like, your drink is out front. Like, I couldn't do it. And I had an open and honest conversation with our team and was like, if this is uncomfortable for you, let me know and I'll help you find another job, right? But the team was like, no, we rock with it. And we kept, we had the acrylic at the register and, washing our hands a lot, making sure that, wearing masks and making sure that, we didn't have a whole lot of customers in the shop at all times. And, like, so we were safe about it, but it was important that people were able to see people because I know that that was how, like, you have to understand how your customer speaks. And I know a lot of times when we get to, like, bigger marketing, I come from a footwear background, you have to remove yourself as the consumer when you're making those decisions. But in our space, right, our small business, all that stuff, you are the consumer also. So don't forget about that. Don't forget, and that doesn't mean that you're always right. But don't forget that you are also the person who you're speaking to and who you're talking to when you're marketing. So speak authentically to whoever it is, however you need to do so.
Yeah, you got to know what size the shoe is, right? You got to get in the right fit.
Like, you got to understand people have two different size feet, so you have to accommodate one of them more, but you got to take care of both feet.
That's right. That's how we stand. We stand together. Okay, so now I had this question in one of my classes this weekend because somebody was talking about marketing, and they were saying, we're going to do something in the next week, and we're going to take a few weeks and then evaluate to see whether it's working. I told them maybe you need a little bit longer to determine if it's actually going to work. What do you think about time frames? If I take on a marketing campaign for my business, how long should I anticipate it matriculating out into the world and then coming back to me in the form of, yeah, that was effective, or no, that's not effective?
Yeah, that's another really good question, and I think it's specific to whatever the marketing approach is, or whatever it is that you're trying to make happen. If you are trying to get people to, like, maybe you release some apparel, or maybe, and if it's your first time making shop merch, like, maybe you only make a little bit of the amount of shirts, and then you figure out what's the best sales platform. And then you see, like, is that the fit that your customers like? There's a period of time in there. Like, yes, you should figure out what's your break even, right? Like, if you make 24 shirts, but your break even's at 16, like, okay, cool, you got to get to 16, and maybe you need to figure out, like, what's going on. Do people like the fit? Do they not like the fit, right? Do you make one size? Do you make, like, one cut? Or do you make a cut that is more like that, people who are more, male leaning prefer, and then, like, female leaning prefer the other, right? Like, you have to assess whatever it is that you're doing. If you're trying to get people to buy bags of coffee and you post on Instagram is the place where people respond the most, and they're not buying bags of coffee, is like so I understand that there could be a time period. Do you have a perishable good? There's a time period. Is it a seasonal menu? There's a time period, right? So I think that I wouldn't necessarily say that there's rules around it, but you have to understand whatever that marketing element is that you're doing and figure out and assess a time amount to it. But yeah, I mean, this also sounds, I know that like over time, I'll say like, oh yeah, you know, stuff is organic, it's organic, it's organic. But there's definitely, I'm not the best planner, so I put people in my periphery who make plans. They organize so that I can go crazy and they can rein me back in, right? And so that way we can be organized and make a plan. Because without a plan, you're just putting something on the shelf and crossing your fingers that somebody comes in to buy it, right? You do need a plan. And I will say that that's one area where I have failed the most is I get excited, I make something, and then we put it out and there's no plan. And so as we grow, we make bigger investments in the things, in the products, and we buy more coffee, we make more hats, more t-shirts, more merch, more space. We have to have a plan or else we're not going to make it. The community will try to support us as much as they can, but like maybe they just don't got the money, right? Maybe we don't, maybe we need to market it to more people that we have that watch and see what we do. So you still need to make a plan, but being time-based is not always necessary.
And the fact that organic is used as a term to insinuate a shoot from the hip mentality, but organization shares the same word, organize and organic and, whatever. Yeah, yeah, you're right. They're cousins. And so my last question to you here is about our own evaluation of effectiveness. Now, maybe it's not time-based, but because we enter into marketing sometimes wanting a return on that investment, we can throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, right? We can say, hey, this didn't work. I'm never going to do it again. Like in your example, I'll never make a hat again. No, maybe it's just a different kind of hat, right? But there is something about you as an owner and the person who holds the strings for resourcing that is also extreme. Not you personally, but there's generally as an owner, there's a lot of pressure that can cause some extreme decisions, some swings. You said something about having a team that kind of helps keep you accountable. What do you as an owner need to do in your own head, in your own kind of like growth to kind of grow with the business so you're not just, so you're at least using nuance as a tool to assess the effectiveness of marketing and it's not just all black and white?
I think I will say I'm very fortunate in that we've gotten to the spot now where we do have a team, right? Like we've had a team for a long time, but for that first year, I started as a little stand inside a shoe store, and it was just me. And I had it planned out. I was working 7 days a week. There were days where I made $35 a day, right? Like, and I just remember buying little pieces of equipment here and there, little baby refrigerators, got a little cooler, got a bigger cooler. Days where I was going to the restaurant supply store every morning, then I could go every other morning, right? So I know what it's like to be by yourself, but I also am thankful and blessed that I do have a team. And as we have built over the course of time, right, your customers are your team, right? Like a lot of people are your team. And a lot of baristas, especially now, are like, I'm not your family, right? Like you're my boss and you own this place and I don't own it. We're not family. But I really try to be extremely family-like with my team and with the customers. And sometimes it backfires, right? But that's way more important to me. And so for me, a lot of it is, doing the things that, or finding the people who do the things that you're not good at is really important. Really being honest with yourself about what you're not good at and what you want to do, and then really, my team got on me a couple days ago about something where I get really excited about stuff and I make a decision and they're like, yo, you can't do that. You make this decision and then we're stuck, right? We gotta handle it. And, and my communication isn't always the clearest because I also understand that they're not going to be happy about that. Right? So sometimes I make a decision and they're like, yo, that was really cool. And sometimes they're like, really, bro? right? And that really, bro, is a little more like, ain't no way, right? But yeah, I mean, I think that your question was like, what do you need to know as an owner, right? You just really have to know. You have to know you, and you have to be honest. Like if there are things that you like in your cafe, or you like in your roasting company, or whatever, that you really enjoy, but it's not selling or it's not working, you got to be honest and strike it. If there's people on your team who are bringing the other people down, and this is me talking to me, right? Like you gotta figure out what to do about that person. Whether it's that you keep them, you work with them, you let them go, right? You have to be strict with your business, because it is still a business at the end of the day, right? And if you're not making money, you're not doing what you got to do to keep the lights on. A friend of mine says, then you have an expensive hobby.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ian, those are great insights. I really appreciate you taking the time here on the show floor of Coffee Fest, and tell people how we can stay up to date with what you're doing in the world of coffee at Deadstock and beyond.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for having me. We're literally on the show floor, which is pretty tight. Deadstockcoffee.com, at Deadstock Coffee on all the socials. You can follow me personally. I go by eWeezy. Come through Portland. Portland's having a hard time right now, but people in Portland, we're still out there doing really good stuff. We really care about the city. We need the city to start to, and by the city, I mean the government, to start to look out for us. These are all things that I've also told the city myself, so I'm not ashamed or afraid or feel nervous that this might get out there. I hope it gets out there and that the city hears it, because they should understand that we're all really working hard.
We'll try to tag them.
Yeah, tag the city. Yeah, tag the city. Every single element of it. But yeah, we're really doing some good stuff. This is a guy right here doing some really good stuff in the city, but he keeps it low. He keeps it quiet. But I don't be quiet. I'll be talking. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that conversation, and I really do think that one of the things that I took away from this conversation that makes so much sense is not only the piece about authenticity and keeping things true to your culture, but on top of that, being open to allowing your team and people who help you make it happen to speak into you and your blind spots as a leader. That's probably one of the most important things that you can do, because you could get into a bubble and cut yourself off from valuable feedback that allows life to flow through your brand, and it makes all of your marketing and all the other parts of the business work that much better. So a big thank you to Ian. If you want to learn more information about Deadstock Coffee, head over to deadstockcoffee.com, and on Instagram, that's just at Deadstock Coffee. And so again, these are the kinds of conversations we have at Coffee Fest, and more of these will be coming up this year as we get ready to go to New York City starting next week, actually. So stay tuned for more live from the show floor interviews from New York, New Orleans, Los Angeles, and Minneapolis. And be sure to check out the previous conversations we've had at Coffee Fest as well. And I hope that we get to see you at the show. Go to coffeefest.com to register today for general admission using the code KEYS15 for 15% off. I will see you there, hopefully. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.